Good evening. More snow today across the region. For some, the chance to have fun, but for those trying to get around, it was another difficult day.
At this hour, warnings have ended for much of the area, but the threat of winter weather has not. CTV's Mike Walker is live outside tonight. He's been outside in the snow all day, and he has more. Mike.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, the snow continues to fall, not as heavy as earlier this afternoon and not nearly as much as last week's storm, but it has still left a big mess to clean up and has snarled the commute in some areas. Digging out after another blast of winter weather.
It's a bit of an undertaking getting out of the wind here, but it seems to build up within half an hour.
An Alberta Clipper prompting Environment Canada to issue a snowfall warning across Toronto and parts of the GTA.
It's more for the eastern parts of the GTA, so as you get into Scarborough, Pickering, Oshawa, Whitby area, those areas likely looking at closer to 10 centimeters.
Some are over it.
The shoveling, you can't walk, really. It's dangerous to walk, it's slippy.
Though not nearly as much snow as last week's winter wallop. The city has removed more than 8,700 tons of snow over the weekend, but this fresh blanket of snow is making getting around a challenge, snarling the afternoon drive in some areas.
The plows are still getting to it, I guess. We're still with the slippery kind of thing.
It's Canada. What do you expect? We have to get. Some people are happy for the snow.
Even harder for pedestrians trying to run errands.
It's hard because it's not cleared properly, so you have to walk on the build-up ice.
Yeah. The conditions forcing the TTC to take some stops out of service. For independent contractors, assalting and cleanup has been nonstop.
This is getting very repetitious. This is turning into a very bad version of Bill Murray Groundhog Day.
Thomasina Wallace says complicating that workload is a road salt shortage and soaring prices for the product, forcing contractors to be strategic.
This is the other reason why we're holding off, because this is going to be very gradual.
The city salters have been making the rounds before the snow started falling. Officials say its salt supply is not impacted, with 3 exclusive suppliers consistently delivering a sufficient amount. Now, the snowfall warning for Toronto ended earlier this afternoon, but we're not done with this weather just yet. Forecasters are tracking another system that could bring even more snow this weekend in the coldest temperatures of the season. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
All right, good to know. Thanks, Mike. And this is a live look at the city this hour. Snowfall warnings have ended for much of the GTA, but it is still snowing in many areas, so be careful out there and, of course, bundle up. It's a bit chilly. There's also more active weather on the way. Lindsay Morrison is here now with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yes, it is still snowing in some parts of the GTA. It's actually a combination of falling snow and blowing snow. The winds did pick up in intensity late this afternoon. They've been coming out of the southwest. And yes, this is still reducing visibility now as we make our way into these evening hours. So we'll begin with a look at the satellite and radar, show you which communities are still dealing with snow. And again, there was a bit of a dry slot, but that filled in. We're now starting to dry out once again in some western sections of the GTA, but the snow continues to fall in and around Toronto, and yes, for many communities east of here. As for what's left, there's the snowfall warning that remains for Durham region, east toward Kingston. Snow squall watches and warnings remain in place for communities east of Georgian Bay. It has been a multi-day snow event in that part of the province. These are the southwest winds I was referring to. They are a little bit gusty and breezy out here, but they've also contributed to this being not as cold of a day. It's actually bearable, tolerable to be outside this evening, especially when you compare to those -20 wind chills we were experiencing this time yesterday. Here's your overnight at a glance. Some light snow, -5 for the low. Enjoy this because we are going to cool down in dramatic fashion over the next few days. And yes, there's more in the way of snow squalls and lake effect snow for some. We're going to take you through the forecast for the weekend. Lots to discuss. It's all coming up. Nathan and Michelle, back inside to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. And just ahead tonight, a grieving family speaks out, calling for more special needs resources in schools after their 7-year-old son was struck and killed by a city bus in Hamilton. But first, a man is in hospital and police are searching for suspects after an overnight shooting in Woodbridge.
Neighbors say they heard multiple shots fired. CTV's John Musselman has the details.
York Regional Police used metal detectors to scan for any evidence in connection with this shooting. A police dog was also brought in to search the driveway and in between some of the homes. Neighbors tell CTV News they heard multiple shots ring out around 1:45 this morning. The scene is located on Andrew Park near Martin Grove. That's just north of Highway 7.
Absolutely shocking. I mean, it's such a quiet street. I mean, there's lots of kids too with the school being here. This is unbelievable. I cannot get over it. It's close to home now. It's like right next door.
It's scary because we don't know what's going on, you know. And I hope it doesn't, you know, people do something to stop this crime.
Police say a 22-year-old man suffered multiple gunshot wounds. He was standing outside the house when it happened. He was rushed to hospital with what police say are non-life-threatening injuries.
This does appear to be a targeted incident, and that there will be an increased police presence in the community for the next foreseeable timeframe. We do have our forensic identification team on scene, as well as our firearms investigations team. And you'll also see K9 and then our search and rescue will do an evidence search.
Neighbors say a family lives in the home and tenants rent out the basement. Investigators say the suspect vehicle is a dark-colored SUV, possibly a Porsche. Police say one of the suspects exited the vehicle and fired multiple shots, striking the victim. The gunman was wearing a balaclava. There are multiple doorbell cameras in the area, and neighbors tell CTV News the footage has been handed over to police. Anyone with information is urged to contact York Regional Police. John Musselman, CTV News in Woodbridge.
One person is dead after a collision earlier this morning in Caledon. It happened on Highway 9 just south of Tottenham. Now, according to the OPP, 2 vehicles collided this morning. Police say one of the drivers died at the scene. The other was taken to hospital with minor injuries. Highway 9 was closed between Highway 50 and Tottenham Road for most of the day.
Emergency crews responded to a house fire in Brampton this afternoon. It broke out just after noon on Malaspina Close near Mississauga Road and Steeles. Fire officials say they battled heavy smoke with flames spreading from the basement up to the second floor. The division chief also spoke on the impact of today's weather on their firefighting efforts.
It's always a little tougher on the staff to be able to fight fires in weather like this. But they're able to still do their job and make things happen to get the fire out.
The cause and origin remain under investigation, but it does not appear to be suspicious. Well, he was just 7 years old, struck and killed by a city bus in Hamilton back in December.
Today, his grieving parents spoke out at Queen's Park, saying they believe if their son's school had adequate staffing, he would have been in class on the day he died and still alive today. CTV's Allison Hurst explains.
Remembered for his big smile that could melt the world, 7-year-old Max Samau's parents say his death could have been prevented.
He should have been in school.
He wasn't there because he'd been switched to a modified schedule due to a lack of special needs resources in October. Max Samau had autism and was nonverbal. On his way home from school with his mom on December 11th, he was struck and killed by a city bus.
We feel robbed and cheated out of a future with Max. We are so heartbroken and mad. He should still be here with us and should have had a chance to celebrate Christmas that he was so excited about.
According to the Ontario Autism Coalition, more than 25% of students with special needs in Ontario are not attending school for full days.
There are approximately 358,000 disabled students attending Ontario schools, which means that well over 115,000 students are experiencing exclusions.
The organization has been calling on the government to ensure kids with special needs get full days for years.
Exclusions definitely existed prior to 2018, but not to this level. It is at a crisis level now.
For Chris and Emily Samau, the change to their son's school hours had a big impact.
I had to reduce my hours at work.
The Premier was asked about this at a news conference this morning.
It's continuous improvement, but we're funding more than any government in the history of our province, and we're going to continue to fund it.
I mean, look at the size of this government's budget. And they can't make sure that every child can go to school.
A feeling shared by the family.
My son's dead, so they're not doing enough. And they've had, like I said, 8 years, like My son was only 7.
To honor their son, the Samaus had his name tattooed in his writing along with his handprints.
Now myself and Emily will never have the chance to hear his sweet voice maybe one day say, "I love you, Mom or Dad," or feel his hugs he gave to show his love.
A pain that will never go away. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Hundreds gathered outside the U.S. consulate downtown today to call for American intervention in Iran.
Demonstrators say they will continue to raise their voices to speak for those inside Iran who cannot. CTV's Rahim Ladani reports.
Standing shoulder to shoulder, waving flags in solidarity with the people of Iran. Many of these demonstrators in downtown Toronto haven't heard from their family in weeks.
They are all like my sisters, brothers, but I hope at least my mom is alive.
Hundreds of demonstrators have been here for over 2 hours now. They have flooded University Avenue, which has caused some road closures. They continue to stand in front of the U.S. consulate and demand U.S. President Donald Trump intervene on their behalf. The individuals who are here, they say, yes, it's cold, yes, the snow is falling, but they feel it's their obligation to be here to be a voice for the people of Iran.
When I'm here in this safe country, and this is the smallest thing I can do for my people.
Please help us and don't be quiet. It's everybody's responsibility.
Dozens of officers, first responders, and the mounted unit stood between demonstrators and the U.S. consulate as Toronto police requested an increased public safety response.
I always say this, we live in the best province in the greatest country in the world. But people around the world don't have the same rights that we do here. Look, we're here peacefully, talking about the issues that matter to the people. People in Iran are not able to do that.
What started as a protest against Iran's ailing economy on January 8th has evolved into a movement to overthrow the Islamic regime, which has ruled since 1979. While there have not been widespread protests in the country for days, the confirmed death toll has increased to more than 4,500 people, and the government-imposed internet shutdown remains.
If the regime kills our people like this and stays in the country, it's going to be a big threat for every country.
U.S. President Donald Trump was non-committal on Tuesday when asked about where military options stand.
We're just going to have to see what happens with Iran. Is the military option off the table?
However, those at the downtown rally remain hopeful.
He said the help is on the way, so we trust him that he's doing something.
And as they wait for a resolution, they say they'll keep coming back until they are heard. Rahim Ladani, CTV News.
Still ahead, Trump takes aim at Carney. The U.S. president weighs in on the prime minister's speech yesterday, making waves on the world stage, saying Canada should be grateful. But first, some big developments in the aftermath of the iPro Realty scandal and the push by thousands of realtors for compensation. Back in May, the Real Estate Council of Ontario found the brokerage misused about $8 million from a trust account. Those funds were meant to protect down payments and realtor commissions. RECO has since undergone leadership changes in connection with its handling of the incident, while compensating realtors up to 50% of their covered losses. Today, the council confirmed it will allow full payment of all eligible claims. RECO says it continues to try to recover funds linked to iPro. The new trade deal between Canada and China covers a wide range of sectors, but Premier Doug Ford has stayed focused on planned rule changes for EV imports.
This morning at Queen's Park, Ford was joined by stakeholders in the auto industry who echoed his concerns around Ottawa's pledge to slash tariffs on nearly 50,000 Chinese EVs each year.
50,000 cars is about a shift at an auto plant. And a shift is 1,000 workers. It might be 5,000 supplier workers. So the challenge now is, if they're inside the gate, what are we going to do to bolster the capabilities of Canadian suppliers who have hundreds of millions of dollars of capital at risk in this country and in the U.S. and in Mexico, employing 100,000 people here and another 100,000 Americans and Mexicans?
As long as Canadians want to buy cars and trucks, we want to build them right here in Canada. Auto workers have been on the front lines of this trade war since last February, fighting to protect their jobs, their plants, and their communities. And that's why this China deal is a hard pill for them to swallow right now, because they've seen this movie before. where their jobs end up on the chopping block because of some trade negotiation.
Premier Ford said the deal with China asks Canadian auto workers to fight on unfair ground against a market giant and without any long-term protections for their industry's future in this country.
Instead of importing vehicles, we should be making vehicles by Canadian workers, using Canadian steel, respecting Canadian specs and standards, leveraging Canada's supply chain. And if the Chinese are serious about making investments and creating auto jobs here in Canada, then show us proof. Canadian auto workers can't feed their families with hypothetical commitments about investments that might happen 5 years or a decade from now.
The Premier says he'd like to see Ottawa consult more with him and other key players going forward. He also called for an end to the federal electric vehicle mandate. And Canada's Prime Minister was called out by Donald Trump at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland today.
The U.S. president criticized Mark Carney in response to the PM's speech at the gathering in Davos yesterday. CTV senior political correspondent Mike Couture has the details.
I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful.
The U.S. president with some tough talk for Prime Minister Mark Carney. It comes a day after the Canadian leader spoke in the same room at the World Economic Forum, criticizing superpowers that use tariffs as leverage.
But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Donald Trump didn't say which statements, but Carney's speech urged middle power countries to act together.
When we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness.
Trump also said Canada gets a lot of freebies from the U.S., but it's unclear what he was talking about. Some Democrats say the comments about our country are unfair.
Canadians have followed us into every major conflict we've been in, whether we were right or wrong. This president has so disrespected them that they're now talking to China.
Carney wrapped up his trade trip to China and Qatar with a stop in Davos, but he didn't have anything to say about Trump's speech. In a statement, the Prime Minister's office told CTV News there are no plans to comment on the president's speech. The two leaders also didn't have any interaction while in Davos, which could be a good thing, according to this former special advisor on Canada-U.S. relations to then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Canada will be well served to have a more dedicated, specific conversation with the president or his team in the coming weeks and months, especially on the topic of CUSMA as we head towards a review deadline.
And there's little time to waste, as that deadline to decide what happens next with the trilateral trade agreement is July 1st. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump announced a framework for a deal on Greenland, saying the agreement gives him everything he wants. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbin has the story.
The U.S. president arrived by helicopter, appearing before business and world leaders, stepping up his demand to own Greenland.
So we want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it.
The president falsely claimed the U.S. owned the island, defending it from the Nazis during the war. It's Danish territory, but Trump wants it back. And now he's backing off his threat to seize the Arctic island using U.S. military might.
We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good.
That hasn't stopped Donald Trump's Greenland ambitions, calling for immediate negotiations with NATO allies to annex the island. He threatened tariffs.
We have no interest in picking a fight, but we will hold our ground.
The European Union hit back, suspending ratification of a massive trade deal with the United States. But after discussions with NATO Secretary Mark Rutte coming to Donald Trump's defense.
And when it comes to the Arctic, I think President Trump is right. Other leaders in NATO are right. We need to defend the Arctic.
Everyone looking for an off-ramp to this crisis. Donald Trump posting on social media he won't impose tariffs now on European nations, reaching a deal, he says, with NATO. We have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. The solution will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations.
It's the ultimate long-term deal, and I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and everything else.
Trump doesn't say if the U.S. will own Greenland, and no one knows what this deal means. But after being pushed to the brink, a sigh of relief.
If the deal here is that the United States can build up our military forces on Greenland, and there's a 1951 agreement between the United States and Denmark that prohibits it and permits it and welcomes it, that might be the off-ramp.
So from the brink of a potential military invasion to a possible trade war with Europe, some say Trump may have miscalculated. Others say there's now a future security deal in the Arctic that reassures this president. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
In the UK, Prince Harry testified today for the first time in a lawsuit against the publisher of the Daily Mail newspaper. He disputed that reporters used legitimate sources to publish revealing details of his life. The Duke said the tabloids continue to come after him and have made his wife's life an absolute misery. Harry and 6 other prominent figures allege the publisher used illegal means to gather information for 2 decades. Associated Newspapers Limited has denied the allegations.
American authorities allege a Toronto man posed as a pilot and flight attendant to obtain hundreds of free flights from U.S. airlines in a scheme that lasted 4 years. The 33-year-old was indicted on wire fraud in Hawaii last October. He pleaded not guilty yesterday. Prosecutors say the man was a flight attendant for a Toronto-based airline a number of years ago and used fake ID from that carrier to get tickets reserved for pilots and flight attendants on 3 other airlines.
Coming up, we take a moment for mental health, a national conversation, an opportunity to prioritize mental well-being. From personal stories to tools and resources, it's Bell Let's Talk Day.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, a rise in gun violence in the GTA has some homes and businesses considering new security measures. One company says there's a growing demand for bulletproof glass. We go to a gun range and put it to the test. I'll have that story. That's just ahead.
Well, this snowy weather is going to wind down this evening, but we remain quite busy here in the weather department. Take a look at the next couple of days here. It is going to become dangerously cold once again. In fact, Saturday's daytime high of -15, if that's as warm as it gets, it will end up being our coldest day in the city of Toronto since 2018. And it looks like this pattern is going to be sticking with us into next week. A bitterly cold end to the month of January. We'll talk about that and the possibility of more snow into the day on Sunday when CTV News returns. Stay with us.
There's been a rise in gun violence and shootings in the GTA, often connected to home invasions and extortion attempts.
As criminals become more brazen and fire bullets through windows and doors, some homeowners are looking for added protection. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. A security company says it's getting more businesses and homeowners asking about bulletproof glass. It's expensive, but is supposed to be strong enough to stop a bullet. We went to a gun range to see how this ballistic glass can hold up.
Following an increase in break-ins, Metalex Security Products developed rock glass, which it claims is 200 times stronger than regular glass. You can't break it with a baseball bat. After a rise in drive-by shootings and extortion attempts in the GTA, the company says it's developed bulletproof ballistic glass. Tom Reimer says there's a growing demand for it.
Will this stop a bullet?
Absolutely. Reimer says customers purchasing bulletproof glass for their homes have been victims of extortion attempts or are worried they could be.
What do? Are you going to move, or are you going to do something about it and you're going to be proactive? So that's where the ballistic comes in. And I hate to see it, but it's here. So we're heading into the gun range now.
We asked Rylan Morey at the Gagnon Shooting Center in Oshawa to fire at the bulletproof glass to see how it would handle the impact.
It is a 9mm pistol. It's a pretty fancy one, considering that it's not exactly what most of the criminals are carrying these days.
Once the bulletproof glass was put in position, Maury was ready to shoot. Then it was time to see how the ballistic glass held up.
Stop it! Sure did. I'm so happy that it's done what it's supposed to do. This is ballistic 9mm glass, 3/4 inch, retrofit. It hung into the frame, no movement there.
This does a more than a good job of stopping that for sure.
Now this is something you hope you don't need.
No. But for some people in the community, it is something that they feel they need, and we're here to help out.
Outfitting.
It's not just bulletproof glass. Some homeowners are upgrading other security features such as motion-activated lighting, smart locks, alarms, and video cameras. Any of these upgrades can help protect your home. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
Well, nature let up on the cold conditions today. Not as bad, but we got another dose of snow. No longer a snowfall warning, but there is more snow to come.
Yeah, we're getting some light snow as we speak. And then, of course, colder air is moving in. So conditions are going to change. And I guess you can say we're getting used to this.
We've gotten plenty of doses of winter. We're getting our fill this
year. Right, it is midwinter. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan, Michelle. Yeah, we do still have some very light snowflakes out here right now. I would argue that the worst of this Clipper is now finished, but we're out here on a patio that is bearing the brunt of all these winter storms that we've had recently. If you can see it, look at all the snow that has continued to pile up on tables, on chairs. We've done a little bit of shoveling, and yes, unfortunately, you are likely to need your shovel, not just later tonight, but into the weekend as well. We will begin with a look at what's left of this system and the weather watches and warnings. Still holding on to a snowfall warning for the Durham region extending eastward toward Kingston, and ongoing snowfall watches and warnings remain in place for areas well north of here. And boy, oh boy, it's been days of snow in that part of our province, including Simcoe, Muskoka, and the Bruce Peninsula. Here's what's left of this system. So yes, still some light snow around the GTA. We are slowly starting to dry out around Hamilton, for example, perhaps over toward Milton. As this system slowly departs behind it, we are going to have some gusty west winds kick in once again. And so snow squalls will be once again part of the story for tomorrow. Any snow that falls tomorrow will be much more localized than it was today. So let's pause this if we can, right around the noon hour there. Mix of sun and cloud for us here in the GTA. Scattered flurries. You'll notice that the accumulating snow once again, perhaps around Niagara, and then certainly the closer you get to Georgian Bay. Overnight into Friday, we could get clipped with a little bit of light snow here in Toronto, and then throughout the day on Friday, we're going to change from a westerly to more of a northwesterly wind. That changes the direction of the snow squalls, yes, but perhaps the more impactful change is going to be the very cold Arctic air being ushered in here. We're going to talk about the polar vortex in the coming days. First, though, here's a look at how much more snow we can expect in many areas. A trace to a centimeter or two here in Toronto over the next 24 hours to 48 hours, but yes, 10 to 20 centimeters of snow expected in those snow belts. Winds have been gusting quite strong all week long, and again, they're going to continue to be strong through tomorrow. A westerly wind, more of a northwest wind into Friday, and that polar vortex, really a piece of it is going to break off and make its way toward us in southern Ontario. Again, that starts Friday, but it starts as early as tomorrow in places like Saskatchewan and Manitoba. This is millions going to be impacted by this brutal cold weather into the weekend. It's not so bad right now. -2 degrees at Pearson Airport. Doesn't feel too much colder than that. Again, these are southwesterly winds that we're dealing with at this hour. Overnight tonight, though, we do dip to a low of about -5 degrees. It's going to feel more like -13 at the coldest point of the night. But our temperature does hold there throughout the day tomorrow. So here's Can expect daytime high -5, wind chill -14, westerly winds gusting to near 60 kilometers per hour. And yes, once again, that chance of flurries, but we do get a break from the major accumulating snow and the extreme cold. We start to feel that again, this cold snap beginning on Friday. And yes, it does look as though Friday and Saturday are going to bring us not only the coldest blast of air of the season, but some of the coldest temperatures we have seen in years, almost 3 years since we've had an overnight low of -20 degrees or colder. That looks to happen Friday night into Saturday. Saturday is sunny, but the daytime high of -15. We haven't had a daytime temperature stay that cold in about 6 years, I believe it is, 8 years, if my math is correct. And then Sunday, let's talk about that. It's early. We can't say with a whole lot of certainty at this point how much snow exactly is in the forecast, but right now all signs are indicating that we could be in for another round of significant snow, maybe 10 to 20 centimeters of it, especially Sunday night, and then that's going to impact likely your morning on Monday. So this is one to watch for sure. Lots going on in the weather department. Michelle and Nathan, I'll send it back inside to you.
So thank you, Lindsay. Well, certainly plenty of white outside, but if you're looking for a little pink, look no further than Leslieville.
At the Leslie Grove Gallery, they're thinking pink as part of this year's annual color show. CTV's Jessica Smith has the story.
A pop of color in the heart of Leslieville.
And in January, it's just so, as you can see, white and snowy and gloomy every day, that we always choose a really happy color to just focus on.
Every year in January, the Leslie Grove Gallery, in collaboration with the Artist Network, puts a call out to local artists to create a show based off a color theme.
We've had shows like Hello Yellow, Seeing Green, Out of the Blue, and this year we decided to go with Think Pink.
Over 100 creatives in the Artist Network submitted more than 300 pieces, with 54 selected to be in the exhibition, all with their own interpretation of Think Pink.
Well, we have a committee of people and we debated it and just talked about how uplifting pink can be. And it does mean different things to different people and artists. It can be calming as well as exciting.
A gallery space open to all, the exhibition includes artists just getting their start alongside with seasoned professionals, creating a sense of connection and community in the Toronto art scene. The Leslie Grove Gallery is free to attend, and you can come and check out Think Pink all the way through to January 25th. Jessica Smith, CTV News.
Also tonight, we keep the conversation going on this Bell Let's Talk Day with Caitlin Morrison, Matthew Perry's sister, and her commitment to building a new addiction treatment center. Today is Bell Let's Talk Day.
It's Canada's biggest national conversation about mental health.
The markets tanked on Tuesday with the threats against Greenland. So when the U.S. president took military action off the table earlier today, investors were relieved. Then early this afternoon, Trump posted a deal had been made on Greenland, and so he wouldn't impose tariffs on European countries. Immediately, the North American market spiked. The TSX gaining over 100 points, the S&P 500 also shooting up. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up a fraction to 72.31. West Texas Intermediate is up to 60.62. Western Canadian Select slightly up to 45.32. And the TSX gained 101 points today to close at 32,851. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Well, we're having some technical difficulties here. The plan wasn't to get to business just yet. We're hoping to chat about Bell Let's Talk Day, an important conversation in this country.
All right, we're going to move on to our next story. Today, of course, is Bell Let's Talk Day.
And it has a special meaning this year for Caitlin Morrison. She is the sister of actor Matthew Perry.
And she's helping to build a new addictions treatment center in honor of her brother who battled addiction for decades. CTV's Pauline Chan has her story.
Being almost 12 years younger than Matthew, Caitlin Morrison barely recalls a time when he wasn't struggling with substances and alcohol.
The first time I ever noticed that he enjoyed,
imbibing was when I took a sip of what I thought was like an orange smoothie, and it was not just an orange smoothie, and I was like, whoa, there's something in this.
Last fall in Ottawa, where Matthew grew up and which he was always so proud to call home, a groundbreaking ceremony was held for Matthew Perry House. It will offer up to 170 housing units, plus counseling, therapy, job training, and more.
His feeling was that he would go to a place and he would be there for a month or so, and he would start to feel good, and then he'd go back out into the world, and he felt isolated.
Matthew Perry House will support people who have completed initial addiction treatment but still need long-term support.
What happens when they finish treatment? What happens when they lose the security and structure of a treatment milieu and go back into a situation where maybe they face housing insecurity, food insecurity, income insecurity?
Cara Vaccarino of the Royals says having Matthew Perry House next door will allow for partnership between the two centres.
We are facing an unprecedented housing crisis in Canada, I'm sure you know. And on top of having a shortage of housing stock, affordable housing stock, our patients are further marginalized.
Caitlin Morrison says Matthew Perry House Ottawa won't be completed for a couple of years, but they plan to offer services in the meantime. They also hope to build centres in other Canadian cities, including Toronto. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Advocates say Canada is in need of a roadmap to reduce the number of lives lost to suicide in this country.
75% of all suicide deaths in Canada are men, and we know that men use a more lethal means than women. And so despite this, Canada is one of the only OECD countries in the world without a comprehensive national suicide prevention strategy. And our organization is calling on Ottawa to roll out a national suicide prevention strategy so that we can get these numbers down.
CB24 spoke with Aaron Anderson from the Kids Help Phone Foundation about how their service has evolved over the years.
We need to keep up with technology, we need to keep up with youth, and so we need to continually evolve to be able to do that effectively. We still do phone-based counseling 24/7. Now we offer that service in more than 100 different languages, for example, and so that reflects the way that we transform our services over time. Nowadays, we're serving youth about just under 4 million times a year, which is drastically more than when we started about 36 years ago. And that's part of us adding to our service continuum with different options for young people so that they have some agency in the way that they choose to be supported.
Psychologist Dr. Natasha Williams says new Canadians can face barriers to getting help.
What we want to look at is how do we look for an individual, somebody that you feel safe with as an initial starting point, because you don't want to, have a whole family meeting and then feel like you're going to be berated. So having a single person as a safe space, as a contact point, is usually the first place that you would want to go to. And then on top of that, when you want to actually express yourself, you don't have to use diagnostic language or anything like that. Speak about how you're feeling and how what your felt sense is. And I think is going to be a good starting point to help the conversation along.
And if you are looking to take a moment for your mental health, you can access a Bell Let's Talk toolkit and conversation guides at bell.ca/Let's Talk. And a reminder, CTV is a division of Bell Media.
If you are in crisis, please go to the closest hospital or call 911. If you're thinking about suicide, call or text 988 toll-free any day, anytime.
It looks like TikTok will be able to keep its operations in Canada, at least for now. The federal court set aside a 2024 government order for TikTok to close its offices in this country. The order would not have banned the widely used app, but Ottawa said it was taking action, citing national security concerns. A TikTok Canada spokesperson says closing its operations would have meant hundreds of jobs lost and less support for homegrown creators. Industry Minister Melanie Joly hasn't commented.
The company behind ChatGPT is rolling out a new tool that it says will help strengthen teen safety on the platform. OpenAI says it's now using an age prediction model to estimate whether an account belongs to someone under 18 years old. If it concludes the user is underage, they'll see restrictions on access to more sensitive content. OpenAI said the tool is in addition to parental controls. This comes as the company has denied allegations it's liable for the answers it provided a teen in California before he died by suicide.
The Toronto Maple Leafs are hoping to get back on track tonight when they host Detroit.
Austin Matthews, goal line. Matthew now to the slot. He scores!
The Leafs have lost 3 of their last 4, including falling 6-3 to Minnesota on Monday. But Toronto is still 1 point back of the final wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference. The Red Wings are 8 points ahead of the Buds. Now, Toronto has 8 more games before the Olympic break.
Here's quickly, ties his career high. He's got a 40-piece.
It will be another late night for Raptors fans as the team continues its Western road trip. Toronto looked good last night in beating Golden State 145-127. Tonight they visit Sacramento to take on the Kings, losers of 2 straight. Meanwhile, the Toronto Tempo will make their WNBA debut on May 8th when the league kicks off its schedule. Toronto is going to host the Washington Mystics at Coca-Cola Coliseum. The Tempo will also host 3 games at Scotiabank Arena. The WNBA's players and the league are currently negotiating a new collective bargaining agreement.
He's worn a Blue Jays uniform his entire MLB career until today. The New York Mets formally introduced Bo Bichette after a $126 million 3-year deal was finalized.
You know, several conversations with teams, several good conversations, but with a lot of prayer and conversations with my family and my agents and even some friends, you know, came to the conclusion that it was very obvious that I wanted to be a Met. Mr. Cohen and David have put together an organization that is looking to win every single year.
The deal does not contain any deferred money, and Bichette gets a full no-trade clause. His $42 million average annual value ties for the 6th highest in baseball history. The 2-time All-Star can opt out of his contract after the first or second season to become a free agent. Again, now Bichette will shift from shortstop to third base for the Mets, a position he's never played in the big leagues. And the Blue Jays posted this today. Bichette played in Toronto for 7 seasons after coming up through the team's minor league system. He turned down a $22 million qualifying offer in November. Bichette led the American League in hits in 2021 and 2022 and finished second in the majors batting average last season.
With Bichette and Kyle Tucker off the board, some thought the Jays might try to sign Cody Bellinger, but that will not be happening. The last of the top free agent hitters is reportedly staying with the Yankees on a $162.5 million deal, 5-year contract. But the 2-time All-Star can opt out after the 2027 or 2028 seasons. To tennis, and Canadian tennis fans will be watching as Richmond Hill's Denis Shapovalov plays a 2nd-round match at the Australian Open tonight. Shapo advanced after Monday's win over a wild card entry from China. He is the only Canadian remaining in men's singles. Tomorrow, fellow Canadian Victoria Mboka was back in action after advancing to the 3rd round of women's singles.
Just ahead, Toronto's most iconic landmark celebrates 50 years. The story behind the towering skyline symbol and the plan to ensure it stands tall for another 50 years.
It stands as the most recognizable landmark in the city. Its architecture has come to represent Toronto around the world.
And to mark the 50th anniversary of the CN Tower, officials are showing off a multi-million-dollar upgrade. CTV's Natalie Johnson has the story.
For 50 years now, it has towered above Toronto.
The tower will be 1,805 feet tall,
shaping the skyline as we know it.
One of the best towers that I've seen in my life.
As soon as we saw the skyline, you're able to tell it's Toronto. Cool to see. Cool to get up there.
Now, 5 decades after the CN Tower opened its doors, officials cut the ribbon today on a revamped lower observation level.
Designed to modernize the space, maximize year-round indoor viewing capacity, and add this new glass floor right here for an unparalleled experience.
That glass floor offering year-round views of the Six, 113 stories above the city, surrounded by interactive video walls that showcase Canadian and Indigenous art.
It's why that $21 million investment is key, not only to making sure this tower survives another 50 years, but does it in a way that really shows off who we are as a country, who we are as a people, and what Toronto brings to that story.
The CN Tower may no longer be the world's tallest freestanding structure, but in its 50th anniversary year, it is a symbol of so much more.
It's never been just about height. It's about what this tower represents: Canadian innovation, ambition, and the audacity to reach higher.
Standing tall for Toronto. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
And when you work in news, we've climbed all those stairs, we've hung off it on the edge walk, but I think, Lindsay, if you were up there today, the view is obscured.
I've always wanted to do the edge walk, but maybe not today. We'll save that for some warmer weather. Yes, it's been very snowy out here today. The flurries are starting to ease finally here in the GTA. One more look at the satellite and radar will show you what's left behind when it comes to this disturbance. A little bit of blowing snow continuing through the evening hours tonight before further tapering off into the overnight. There's what's left of weather watches, warnings, advisories. Looking ahead to tomorrow and the next couple of days here. Tomorrow we start to transition back to some colder weather, but it's Friday and Saturday where we will really feel the chill. And once again, we are eyeing Sunday for perhaps another potent winter storm with more accumulating snow. That's it for now. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Here we go again. Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zarada Alman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, thanks for watching. Have a great night.